We'll do now the 53rd Maimer in Maimorim Mulukotim, and Maimor Lukit in Chelik Gimel. This is the Maimer that the Rebbe said in Shabbos Parshas Baha'alotcha, the Maimer Baha'alotcha Saneris, and it says in the star over here that this was published in the Kuntres, the booklet for Tezvov Sivan in the year Tinosei, Tavshinun Aleph in Tinosei, in connection to the 15th of Sivan, which was the beginning of the imprisonment of the previous Rebbe in the year Tafresh Pei Zayin. And the Rebbe further says in the that this is published on the third day and Gimel of the Parshas Baha'alotcha, Tezvav Sivan, the year Tinosei. In the note over here on Tafresh Pei Zayin, it says, if you look later on, and at the end of page Shinayin Aleph, and in the Ha'ara 40, that after the redemption of the 12th of Tammuz, it was revealed that the imprisonment was actually a sowing. It's unique. It wasn't a bad day, the incarceration, but that was the Zriya. So that through this, there would be a tremendous growth and a tremendous addition in the spreading out of the well springs. So therefore, that's very significant, the day of Tezvav Sivan, as a day in which the Zeriya for the increased and additional Futzer Mayonis started off with Tezvav Sivan. Okay, so we'll do the Maimer inside now. So the Maimer, again, Shabbos Parshas Baha'alotcha, Chof Aleph Sivan, Tavshin Chof Tes. So the Maimer begins with Baha'alotcha es Haneris, when you bring up the Neris, the lamps. Baha'alotcha es Haneris, the Eibishter is saying to Aaron that when Aaron brings up the Neris, so we find in Likutei Torah the Neres Heim HaNeshamas. That what does it mean when you raise up the lamps? That is raising up the souls. A soul is a lamp, and raising the lamps means raising the souls. Where is the connection between the lamps and the souls? As the Pasuk says, Neir Havaya Nishmas Odo. What is the lamp of Hashem? That's the soul of man. So the soul of man is a lamp of Hashem, and those lamps are being raised. Baha'alotcha, Aaron raises those lamps. Why is there specifically 7 branches to the menorah? If we're talking about the neshamas, because in generally there are 7 categories to the neshama. Bezayin haneres da menorah, and the 7 lamps of the candelabra of the menorah. Heimzayim sugi b'nei Yisrael b'avodas Hashem. Those are 7 categories of Jewish people in the service of Hashem. 7 branches means there's 7 neiros, because generally the neshamas of the Yidden can be divided up into 7 categories. The 7 categories of the Bnei Yisrael are the 7 different lamps. Yesh Oved Ma'ava, one serves Hashem. There is one that serves Hashem out of love, which is Mashuch Kamayim. It's drawn like water, which is like the level of Chesed. That's the one midah of the 7 midas, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet. So one is One category is chesed. It's moshuch kamayim. It's pulled like water. Water is chesed. V'yesh me'ava, and then there is another one that is of love, kirish pei eish, but that's like a fiery love, which is the level of gevura, v'chulu, etc. You have chesed, gevura, plus the 7 different categories in the service of Hashem. And they are all raised, baha'aloscha es haneris, you raise these neris, these neshamas. So he, the Rebbe Maharash, in the Maimer by Daber Alischa Neris Shenemar Lifnei Meir Shona was said 100 years ago, and we're talking about the year that the Maimer was said was in Tovshin Chavtes, and the Maimer is in Tofresh Chavtes that the Rebbe Maharash said that was 100 years from Tafshin Chavtes. So he says in the Maimer over there, but the fact, why are the souls called lamps? This is like the saying of our sages of blessed memory, and this is in Dvarim Rabbah. So there they say that Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu la'Adam, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to the person, to Adam, Neiri biyodcha, my lamp is in your hand, under your control. But your lamp is biyodi, under my control. What does it mean, my lamp? What is the native Hashem, which the Yid is in the hand of a Yid? Neiri biyodcha zu ha-Torah. That's the Torah, is the lamp that the Yidden have, the Ksiv, because also Torah is called a lamp. It says Kiner mitzvah v'Torah oir. The mitzvah is the lamp and the Torah is the light. So the generally Torah is a lamp. So that Torah is in the hand of Adam, in the hand of the person. But the Nercha, your lamp, which is Biodi, Zuha Nefesh. That's the soul. That's up to Hashem to give you life. The Ksiv Neir Havaya Nishmas Odom. That the neshama of man is a lamp of Hashem, and therefore that is Neiri. And my Neir, I mean, that's Nercha, that's your lamp that the Eibishter gave. The Nishmas Odom is the Neir Havaya. That's Nercha. So the neshama of a Yid is up to Hashem to guard and to keep, to give it alive. And the Eibishter says like this: if you guard my lamp, which is my Torah, then I will guard your lamp, I'll guard your neshama. But if you extinguish my lamp, then I will extinguish your lamp, your neshama. So we need to understand, why does the Rebbe Maharash, when he wants to bring an explanation, explains why the neshamas are called neiris, he brings down the saying of the rabbis of blessed memory of the Medrash Rabbah we quoted. But the fact that neshamas are called neiris, the fact that neshamas are referred to as lamps, that's very explicit, clearly stated in the verse. Neir Havaya Nishmas Adam, that the lamp of Hashem is soul of man, that a soul is called a lamp. Maybe so why does he bring in the Maimer as Divrei HaMedrash, the words of the Medrash, Neiri biyotcha v'nercha biyodi, that your lamp is in my hand and my lamp is in your hand? That doesn't seem to, just to prove his point that he's trying to say that the neshamas are called neiros. That says in the pasuk, Neir Havaya Nishmas Odo. So why does he bring down the Medrash? Gam Tzarech Lahavin. Also, we need to understand the Pasuk Nemar. The Pasuk says Neir Havaya. Here we're saying that the Neir Cho, that it's actually your lamp that gives life to the Yid. The Eibishter calls the Neshama Neir Cho. But in the Pasuk it says Neir Havaya, which means that the lamp of the Neshama is Hashem's Neir. Neir Havaya Nishmasod. Shaha Neshama, He Neir Havaya, the Neshama is a lamp of Hashem, not your lamp. Ubemedrash Hanalo Imer, but in the Medrash of the above quoted, he says, Shah Neshama, He Neir Cho. The Odom, the Neshama is your lamp, the person's lamp. The Eibishter says, I'll keep your lamps. They call it the lamp of the person and not the lamp, as the Pasuk says, Neir Havaya Dishmasot. But in the Medrash, it's the Torah that it's Neir HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but not the Neshama. But in the Pasuk, it says, Neir Havaya Nishmasot, that Nishmasot is also the Neir of Hashem, not Neir Cho. So that's the questions that the Rebbe is asking on the Maimer that the Rebbe Marash said. So the Rebbe says in those bays, we can explain the by introducing that which is explained in many places. The inyan baha'aloischa es haneris, what is the concept, the idea? You are the one that are bringing up the menorah. Hu she'arin me'oired es haneshamas. That is that Aaron, he arouses, he encourages, he wakes up the souls. Sheyiyah bohem harotzin lalis lamaylo. They should have the desire, the wish, the want to go up above. But to the extent lekolel ba'atzmus ein sof, to be included in the essence of Ein Sof. How do the neshamas get the desire to want to go up all the ways to the Ein Sof till the atzmus of Ein Sof? They get it through baha'aloischa es haneris. Why do the neshamas really need Adin to encourage them to want to go up? But isn't that a natural phenomenon by the neshama? V'agam the rotzin zeh, although this desire, huteva da neshama, that's the nature of the soul. Kamavur, Tanya has explained in Tanya, the hatamsha neshamis nekroim shem nedis. What is the reason why our souls called lamps? Who? Kikemoy shahaner tivoy lalis lemayla v'ledovek b'sharshay. Just as a lamp, its nature is to go up above and to connect to its root. What is the root of the neshama, of the lamp? They were saying just like the lamp. What is the root of that? That root is the root of the fire. There is the general foundation element of fire, which is under the ball of the moon, and the Ner naturally wants to go up the fire and wants to go up to that Yesoida Eish, which is under the Yerech. He wants to go up naturally. So the Alter Rebbe explains, why is the neshama called a Ner? Kena neshama. He beteva harotzu lalis lamaylo liikola b'mikor chaytzo. It has the natural rotzu, the run, to want to go up above, to be included in the source from which she was carved out. So, why do we need Aaron if the neshama, in essence, as Dr. Rebbe explains in Tanya, naturally wants to go up? Nevertheless, we still need Adin Ba'aloischa Sanedis to have the souls want to go up. He should raise up the natives, the neshamas. Why? Because through the descent of the soul below, these lapshus of the goof and dressing up in a body, misalim teva rotzu shebo. So that nature of running, that it wants to go to Hashem, lalis l'mayla l'mker chotzva, is obscured, is blocked. The body and that it's dressed up, it interferes, and that nature is hidden. It's not visible anymore as the neshama wants to go up. As explained at length in the Maimorim, the mehataimim al zeh she'haneshama is the atzilus nikroim zera odom v'haneshama is the bria yitzira asira nikroim zera behema. That some of the reasons why we say that the souls which are from Atzilus, they are called seed of man, and the souls of Bri Yitzira Asira are called Zera Behema, seed, animal seed, who Kehanishama, that Shama is the Atzilus, because the souls of Atzilus, Gambi Ridosam Lamata, even as they descended below, Teva Harotzui Va'aliyah Shobahem Hu Begilu, their nature of running and elevation that is in their neshama is open. V'lochein nikroim b'shem odom. That's why we call them Zera Odom, the souls of Atzilus, because they're Odom al Shem Ruach HaOdom Ha'olehi L'maylo, based on the pasuk that says that the Ruach, the spirit of man, in Keheles Gimel Chaf Aleph, that the spirit of man goes up. They're Zera Odom because they still want to go up. These are the Neshamas Odom, the Neshamas of Atzilus. Neshamas Dibiyah, on the other hand, the souls of Bria Yitzira Asiya, Nikraim Zera Behemas. They're called the seed of Behema, who, and so Yashem Reiv Neshamas, Shamas Dibiyah Reiv Neshamas, which is most Neshamas. Kishen Yerdes Lamato Mislapshis Beguf, as they descend below and dress up in the body, so they're drawn after the body and after the physical matters of this world. So the neshamas of Biyah are no longer in their pure state the way they were, but when they get dressed up in the body, they are drawn after the bodily matters. And that's why they're called with the name Behema. Al Shem Ruach HaBehema HaYeredes Hilamato, because the pasuk says in Koheles that the spirit of the animal goes down. In other words, it's drawn down. It no longer wants to go up, but it's nimshach after the body. So therefore, what is the service, the work of Aaron? La'oirer, to arouse, encourage, ulegalis, and to reveal as teva harotzi v'ha'aliyah, that nature of running and elevation, sheyeshna gam b'neshamas dibiyah. It exists, it is found in the neshamas of dibiyah. He has to encourage that and reveal that. So he brings up those natives. So that nature of aliyah, which they actually have as neshamas, should come out in the open. That is what Aaron does for the neshamas of Biyah, for the neshamas of Behema, the Zera Behema, that they too should have that revealed level of what they have inside, that Tava, Rotzev Aliyah, that it should be revealed, and that they should, despite the being in the body, in Elam Hazeh, still they should want to go up. So it explains further in the Maimorim, how come this is Aaron encouraging that? Why is Aaron doing that? The Hakam, Shehalos Hanedis Gilui Teva Rotzev Aliyah Neshamas. Why is the elevation of the lamps, which means this revealing the nature of the rotzei, of the running and the elevation of the souls, why is it done hu al yidei aren davke? Why is it done specifically through aren? Aren ksiv, because with regards to aren, it's written keshemen hatoiv al harosh yored al hazokon, as the good oil that goes on the head and descends onto the beard. Zekan aren, the beard of aren, sheyored al pi midoisov, that descends on his characters, traits, midoisov. The Inyan Zakan Aren, what is the idea, the good oil that comes down on the beard of Aren? What is the beard of Aren? Hu halachas haTorah. That is the laws of Torah. That's the level of the beard of Aren. Ba'al yidei haTorah, and through Torah, which Torah is Torah, Torah light, the light of Torah. Mizgala, Torah brings light. Mizgala umeir, that reveals and it shines teva haliyah de neshama, that nature of elevation of the soul. Sheyeshnei gam biridosa lemato bislapshtusa beguf, which exists also as the neshama descends below and rests up in the guf. The Torah reveals that it still has the rotz and the connection to go above. Baha'aloscha, to bring up that there is an elevation, a yearning, and a rotzui from the neighbors, from the lamps. And that is through Zakan Aren, which is referencing the Torah. The Maimer Hazal. So based on this, we can explain the connection of the saying of our sages of blessed memory, Hamuva Maimer, that's brought down the Maimer. Over there it says, Im shomarti es neiri, and im shamer es nercha. If you keep my ner, I will keep your ner. What's the connection? To the idea of bringing up the neighbors. Ki inyan ani meshamer es nercha, because this idea that the Eibishter is guarding your lamp, which means shmira saner shaloi tuchaveh, is guarding the lamp that it should not extinguish. Who? That means, what does it mean being guarded, that lamp? That the lamp of the neshama, which is the nature of the rotze and want to elevate, it should be open. It shouldn't be extinguished. To guard it, that it should be openly. So the Eibishter says, I am going to Meshamer es nercha, to guard your lamp, that the neshama should be open. It depends on im shamarta es neri. Zeh shmiras haner da neshama, who al yidei shmiras haner de Torah, that how do you guard the ner of the neshama, that it shouldn't be extinguished? That is by guarding the lamp of Torah, by the Torah illuminating and revealing that tava of the nefesh in the neshama, even despite being in the guf, who derecha inyan al the baha'aloscha saneda shel aretz. So this is similar to the idea that baha'aloscha sanedus, which takes place through Aren, we said before, which is the level of Torah, and that is the kan Aren, which is Torah, that it reveals, and that's why you see the nature of the neshama comes through, despite that it's in this world descended and it's in the guf. And that is accomplished in Torah. So Be'ha'loischa es haneris, Aring elevates it through Torah. And the same thing is Imata Meshamer Neiri the Torah, and the Meshamer es Nercha, guard your neshama, that it reveals the highest level of the neshama. Mamshir B'hamaimer Gimel Ozya. The Maimer continues. The Tzarich Lahavin. Now we need to understand. Be'im Shamarta es Neiri ani Meshamer es Nercha. If you keep my lamp, you keep the Torah, I'll keep your neshama. Mahi shaychusam zelazeh. What is the connection between these two neiris? If you do this, you keep my lamp, I'll keep your lamp. V'oid, v'ad, and furthermore, to the extent it's not only a connection, shem tluyim zebozeh. They're hinged one on the other. That the Eibishter only is meshamer es nercha. If you're meshamer es neiri, it's hinged on the other. So he explains there in the Maimer, based on what we find in the Medrash. B'schus mi nivru, says the Medrash, Elu Toldis Hashemayim v'Oretz, in whose merit were created. When we say Eila Toldis Hashemayim v'Oretz, these are the creations, the birth of the heavens and the earth. So whose merit is it that everything was created, the Shemayim v'Oretz? U'b'schus mi hemimdim, and in whose merit do they stand? So the answer is b'schus Eila Shmois B'nei Yisrael. That is the Eila Toldus Hashemayim v'Oretz is in the merit of Eila Shmois B'nei Yisrael. These are the names. It's because of the B'nei Yisrael. The Eila b'schus mi'emdim, and the Bnei Yisrael Eila, in whose merit do they stand? B'schus Eila ha'edus v'achukim v'amishpatim, and the merit. These are the statutes, the Eila, the testimony, the statutes, and the laws. So Eila for Eila for Eila, the world which is Eila Shemayim v'Oretz is standing in the merit of Eila Shmeis Bnei Yisrael, the Yidden. And the Yidden are there because Elu Eidus Achukim, because of Torah. Shakavon the B'riyas Ha'olam, that the intent of the creation of the world, he B'shvil Yisrael, that is for the Yidden. V'Hashleimus, the Yisrael, he Al Yidei HaTorah, and the wholesomeness of the Yidden, B'schus B'yevdim, is their Torah, is because of Eilach Eidus Chukim, is for the Torah. Dal Yidei Yisrael Mekaimim HaTaryag mitzvahs, through the Yidden fulfilling the 613 mitzvahs, Hemis Alim Lemadrega, they are elevated to a level, Nailis Yoiser, to a higher level, Mikimoi Sheheim Mitzad Atzma. Then they are on their own. When the Yidden do the Torah mitzvahs, they are in a higher level than on their own without Torah mitzvahs. Bezehu ma'asha hanishama yered es lamato umislabeshes bigid guf gashmis bigdei lekayim Torah mitzvahs. That's the idea, that a soul descends below, dresses up in a physical body in order to be able to kaim Torah mitzvahs, to fulfill Torah mitzvahs, ki al yidei kiyumat Torah mitzvahs, because through the fulfillment of Torah mitzvahs, this al is hanishama l'mayla yoser mikimosha oiso koydem yiridoso, the neshama goes up to a higher level more than it was before it descended. So there is an elevation of the Yidden through the Torah mitzvahs more than they are on their own. If you keep my ner Torah mitzvahs, I'm going to keep the neshama, because sheshmiras haner the neshama. How do we keep that lamp of the neshama, the elevation, the increase, Maila, advantage of the neshama is through the Torah mitzvahs. He al yidei shmiras haner the Torah. That's through keeping the lamp of Torah. So based on what the Maimer says, the inyan im shamarta es neri ani mishamer es nercha, the idea of if you keep my ner, then I keep your ner. The elevation of the soul is through Torah. That through the fulfillment, observance of Torah mitzvahs, the neshama is elevated l'mayla yoser mikmoi shahoyisam koidem yiridoso, to a higher level than it was before it came down. There's an advantage, there's an additional, there's a height given to the neshama more than what it had before it descended. Yesh loymar, so then we can say the zeh shemekasher inyan zeh in baha'aloscha asanerisu, so this that he connects these medrash chazal shamer snercha with shamer sneri shmarta sneri shamer together with baha'aloscha nerish leimar the zeh shemekasher imizem baha'aloscha nerisu kigam inyan baha'aloscha asaneris, because also the idea of the elevation in the lamps, who haliyah shenase ben neshamis, that is an elevation that is made by the soul l'mayla yoser, to a higher level, gam mikmoy shehoyu koydem biridos olamaito, also a higher level than they were before they descended below. So they're both basically giving out the same idea. Ba'aloischa saneres makes the neshamas, the natives, a higher level than they were before they descended, just like the Torah is Meshamer through Meshamer es Nedi, Meshamer es Nercha, there's an elevation in the neshama. To explain this idea in more details, Yesh Lagdim, to have to introduce the Hadiuk Bahamaimer, that when the Maimer is questioning, it asks the question, why does the Eibishter say that if you keep my Torah, I will keep your neshama if you keep the Torah, if you keep my ner, the ner of the Torah. So when the Maimer is asking why are they tluyim zebazeh, why are they hinged on one another, this is not just asking why are they hinged in not violating the Torah. We understand why a violation of the Torah would cause a lack of protection for the neshama. That's not the issue. The Maimer wants to know, because it's not only are we saying that a violation of Torah would do damage to the neshama, but we're saying that keeping the Torah keeps the neshama. Kishmiras kishamarto esnedi. When Hashem says you're keeping my lamp, the Torah, so here we're not only talking about that you're not doing any violations. It's not just merely that the person is not violating a instruction of the Torah, but it's keeping the Neir means that you are doing and fulfilling the positive, the mitzvahs of the Torah tells you to do. We're not only talking about you not violating, we're talking about that in order for your neshama to be protected, you need to do mitzvahs. That's why the Rebbe asked the question, Why are they hinged? Why is doing mitzvahs? Why is doing mitzvahs the cause that the Eibishter watches the neshama? And then it explains: the haneshama tluya this aspect of it, that in order for the neshama to be protected, guarded, that hinges that you shouldn't, God forbid, violate the Torah. That's not a question what the connection is. Who? That's understood. If you would violate a command of the Torah, that makes a blemish in the soul. But the question in the Maimer is not for violation. The Shamarta as Neiri means keeping the mitzvahs, doing mitzvahs asay. But do you, by fulfilling the Torah, but do you by Maimer who? But the question in the Maimer is Mashashmira Saner the Haneshama. Why is the guarding to keep the light of the neshama? Why is it hinged? Why do we need the kiyum Torah for that? And further, the Rebbe explains that the question, why do we need Torah in order to keep the neshama, is mostly goes on the neshamas of Atzilus. The neshamas of Biyah, as we said earlier, since there is a helem through dressing up in the body, in the physical world, there is an obscurity, something that blocks the revelation of the neshama. So we explained before that we need the Torah to take away that block. So we also understand, we don't even have a question, why do we need Torah to protect the neshama? We know because the neshama, as it came down in the guf, since it's zera behema, it descends and it struggles, it's obscure, and when you take away the obscurity, that is through the Torah oir. The main question of the Maimer, why do we need the Shmiras HaTorah, is with regards to the neshamas of Atzilus. Mekayim, by Shomarta as Neidi, keeping the Torah, the neshamas that Atzilus keeps their neshama. Why do they need their neshama? Has not been obscured. And the Rebbe explains that the Yesh Lahaisif, we can add. Shahadiuk ba'maimer, that the question that the Maimer has, why do we hinge the protection of the neshama to the observance of Torah? Who beikir b'negei neshamas the Atzilus. That's mainly with regards to the neshamas that come from Atzilus. And we want to know, why do they need kima mitzvahs in order to protect them? Why? The benegei and the neshamas, the b'yah benegei, as far as it relates to the neshamas of the Yitzirah, Shem Reva neshamas, these are the majority of the souls. Yesh Loimar, there we can say, it's not as a question, the Zesh Shmiras Aner, the neshama tluya b'ner the Torah. Why is the keeping of the ner of the neshama hinges on the ner of Torah? The reason is the kivon she'etzlam haguf v'nefesh abahamis mailim u'master al neshama. Since by them the neshama is sobiyah, the body and the animal soul obscure and block the neshama. Lochein shmiras haner the nishmosum. So how could you keep that flame, that lamp of their neshama, who al yidei, that is shalidei kiyum Torah mitzvahs kenal, that is through observing Torah mitzvahs, the light of the Torah takes away the obscurity, so the neshama can light and have that natural tendency of halo rotzi to Hashem. So what is the question of the Maimer? V'adiyu v'ashayla b'ha-Maimer u'beikir b'neshamas d'Atzilus. So it's mainly about the souls of Atzilus. Souls of Atzilus, they don't deteriorate when they come down into the guf and nefesh. The kivon she'etzlam haneshama begilui, they are not obscured and blocked by the guf and nefesh habahamis. By them, the neshama is open. Why would they need the ner de Torah? That's the question that the Rebbe asks in the mind. But now the Rebbe says, what's the Rebbe's answer? Since the question is, why do these neshamas of Atzilus need this? Because their neshama is open even when it comes in the guf and nefesh habahamis, begilui, and they have the rotzut Hashem. So why do they need the kiyum of Torah mitzvahs in order to protect their neshama? So this that it says in the Maimed, why does it accomplish that the neshama is guarded through the guarding of the ner Torah? So it says, Ki eila shmois b'nei Yisrael emdim bizchus, the quoting from the Medrash, because Torah is emdim bizchus. Because why do Yidden exist? It's b'schus elu ha'edus v'chukim ha'mishpatim. But that is not just to remain. The l'chayra zeshe Yisrael emdim b'schus ha'Torah v'ha'mitzvus. When the Medrash says that the Yidden are standing b'schus ha'Torah mitzvus, hu ashal yidei kiyum ha'Torah mitzvus, over there, it seems like they are elevated to a higher madrege from that medrash through Torah mitzvahs. The Eila Shmeis B'nei Yisrael aimed in B'schus Eila Eitzachul Mashpat. And the Rebbe in Ha'ara 23 brings down from the Maimer, so from the Medrash is that there is an elevation on top of that through the Kiyum HaTorah mitzvahs. But Avol Hadarge the Neshamis Yisrael Shem Mitzad Atzmom. But as far as the neshama of itself, if we're not talking about an elevation coming to a higher level, we don't need the Torah mitzvahs for that. That's not necessary. That doesn't hinge on the Torah. So that would be the pshat in the Medrash. However, the way we just translated that the upirush im shamarto es neidi ani mishames es nercha. You're keeping my Torah, I'm going to keep your ner. What are we keeping over here? See, we're keeping the neshama that's Atzilus the way it is. We're not talking about an elevation. Shmiras haner the haneshama. That what are we guarding? The ner of the neshama. Not to bring an elevated light. That's just to protect the neshama on its own. The neshamas of the Atzilus, they're to bring them, or even if we're talking about the neshamas of Biyah, is to bring them to their really who they are themselves. But we're not talking about bringing them to a higher level. So that Shemiras Haner the Neshama, Hanedargas Haner the Neshamas Hadasmo, who al yidei shmiras haner Torah, by keeping the ner Torah, that's how we get to that level. Yesh levayrze. So, in other words, what happens through the Torah mitzvahs? From the statement of the Medrash, the way the Rebbe Marash brings it down, it seems like the Torah brings the neshama to a higher level, and from the statement from Shomarta Sneida and Mishamed as Nercha, it's mashma that it stays at the same level, it just protects it. So V'yesh Levayrze, so we can explain this on Maimer Hazoya Namuva Betanya, based on the saying of the Zohar that is brought in the Tanya. The kemoi she'oir haneir eine meir v'nechas bipsila b'lishemen. Just like the light of the flame could not shine and hold on to the wick without oil, Kain ein hashchina shoyd al gufa adam. Likewise, the divine cannot rest on the human body. Shenimshul lipsila, the human body is equated to a wick. Elo al yidei maisim tovim shenimshul l'shemen, only through good deeds which have been equated to oil. The maisim tovim are the oil for the wick, for the body of the person, to keep the shechina on the person. Why do we need to fuel the wick, the body, through maisim tovim, through mitzvahs? Why do we need mitzvahs to do? Tanya explains in the Tanya that the reason for this that how does the divine rest on the human body? He davke al yidei kiyum hamitzvahs. It's davke through the observance of mitzvahs. And v'loi dai loi benishmosoi. Why do we need mitzvahs? Why don't we fuel it just the soul of the person? That should fuel it. It's not sufficient with the soul, which is a part of godliness above. That should be the oil for the wicked. And the answer is Kinishmas Odom. So the Alter Rebbe explains in the Tanya that the soul of man, afilu keshehu tzaddik gomur, even when the person is a complete tzaddik, he serves Hashem with fear and love, with delight, which is the highest level of service of Hashem. Isn't totally negated from its existence. He always remains a separate entity. You fear Hashem and you love Hashem. So there's always that you are the one that loves Hashem. You are the one that fears Hashem. It doesn't matter what your level is, even at the highest level, you're still always going to be a Metzias. You're not totally bucking. However, on the other hand, that's the Nefesh Elikis. That cannot be enough of a fuel for the Shechina, but we need the Maisim type. On the other hand, but the mitzvahs which are the inner will of his blessed will, they're the inner of his blessed will. The energy in that mitzvahs that you're doing is not something separate by itself at all. Not like the neshama. That is totally connected. But it is united and it's included in his blessed will, so that the mitzvahs are not an entity. They are united with Hashem. The mitzvahs are deeper and more closely. They're negated of existence, unlike the soul. And therefore, the oil has to come from the mitzvahs. And therefore, the resting of the divine on the human body is specifically through the observance of mitzvahs. Because what is the concept? What is the idea of the divine resting? In any item, you're saying that divine resting. The idea is that thing it rests in is included in the light of Hashem, and is subjugated to him of its entity totally. It's a non-entity at all. That is what means that the Shekhinah rests. So then in that item is then only then can it rest and be revealed and shine the one Hashem. And that's why we need the mitzvahs as the fuel. So based on this, we can explain this that the guarding. How do we watch the nair of the soul through watching the nair of Torah? Is ki inyan haneir the haneshama hu habitul shalom. Because what is the nair? What is the lamp of the neshama? That is the subjugation that the soul is bottled. To keep the nair of the neshama means to keep the bittul of the neshama, because that is the neshama, is the bittul. Ushleimus habittul, the neshama, and the complete. When is there a total, wholesome, complete bittul of the neshama, which is bittul metzias lagamre, mitzvahs? That is only through the observance of mitzvahs. So you have to keep Torah, you have to keep mitzvahs in order to keep the neshama, because the neshama, as we said before, is an entity by itself without mitzvahs. It's not totally bottled. It's still mitzias that loves and fears Hashem, but the mitzvahs are the one that have the full bittul to the Tzorni. So for the neshama to be bottled, that means to guard it, to guard the neshama, it needs to have shamar tanei. You have to keep the mitzvahs. B'zehu shehaneir the haneshama nikra nercha. That's why the neir of the neshama is called your neir, the neir of the person, nercha, the adam. But neir the Torah mitzvahs, that the Torah mitzvahs is called neiri da kodesh baruch hu. Imata shomer, im shomarta neiri ani shemeach, which is Torah mitzvahs, ani shomer nercha, the neshama of the person. Kabitul da neshama ashtem shemitzad atzmo, because the subjugation of the neshama by itself, eina bittul betachos, it's not totally bittul. It's nercha the hodam. That's a person, because the neshama in essence by itself is not bittul b'mitzias. So that's why it's your ner, as opposed to vaner the mitzvahs. Shu pnimis ritzonis baruch. But the ner of mitzvahs, which is the inner will of Hashem, who neiri da kodesh baruch hu, that's Hashem's ner, because that's total bittul mitzias. And when a person fulfills the mitzvahs, nimshach bittul zeh gam b'neshama. So this bittul of mitzvahs of neiri is nimshach into the person. Ani meshamer es nercha. I am guarding your ner, bringing in the level of bittul into the nercha, into the neshama. Hey, ulhoyir. So the Rebbe wants to point out now the Maimer Hanal Shayich L'Chag HaShavuos. The above Maimer has a connection to Yom Tov Shavuos. The noise of Lozeh Shaparshas Baha'aloscha Saneris. In addition to the fact that the portion of Lozeh Tchilas Hascholas HaMaimer, which the Maimer starts off, the Maimer the Rebbe Maharash, Koidim La'achar L'Chag HaShavuos. We read it after Shavuos, but the Rebbe points out some years we read it also Nosei, and sometimes not. But Baha'aloscha is always after Shavuos. Sometimes you also have Nosei after Shavuos, as in that year. So, besides that, Nirsham Bascholos HaMaimer, the beginning of the is marked down that Maimer the Rebbe Maharash who Shaykh Lidibura Maschil Vaydaber Anochi, that this has a connection to the Maimer that begins Vaydaber Anochi, which is a Shavuos Dike Maimer Daseres Adibres. So Valpizeh Yesh Loimar. So according to this, that it's Shaykhs to Shavuos, we can say the Zeshem Mevuer Bahamaimer. that the Maimer, it's explained in the Maimer. That through the Kima Torah mitzvahs, there is actually an elevation in the neshama. This is similar to the elevation of the Yidden, which came about when the Torah was given a Matan Torah. But Inyan Hud idea is the that natural love which is within every Jewish person. Li is davuk b'havaya, to be connected to Hashem, and not to separate from Him blessed under no circumstances. Even if you have to give up your actual life, that was that level of natural love that we have for Hashem from Sidus Nefesh. That existed also before Matan Torah. Because this love, that's an inheritance from our Father. That's not something that was given to us by Matan Torah. This is always. And based on what it says in the Tanya, that the fact that the forefathers, they inherited to every Jewish person that love, it is connected to the fact that the forefathers, they are the chariot. They are the chariot of Hashem. They're bittul to Hashem. That bittul to Hashem is because they are the chariot of Hashem. What is a chariot? The Inyan Amerkovi, the idea of a chariot, of a carriage, that it is subjugated to the one that rides it. It has no say. It's totally wherever the rider, that's where it goes. Whether the fact that the wagon or the horses, they go, the rider, he pushes where he wants to go. It's not because they want the horses want some connection to the rider. We have the natural love that we're talking about. That's a desire that you want to be connected to Hashem. So there is some sort of input or some sort of motivation, the avativis pushes you to connect to Hashem. But when it comes to the rider, it's not that they have some right, they want to do what the rider wants them to do. It's just because they're subjugated, they have no say in the matter at all. So Yesh Loimar. So the Rebbe says, based on this point that the Tanya makes, we can say Sheba'ahava Ativis Habo B'Yerusha Me'avis, that in this natural love that we get as an inheritance from the Father, which is Hein Amarkova, which are the chariot, Kulula Behelem Gam Ha'avo Shebibchinas Bittul. That includes, hidden in it, not only the natural love that he wants to be connected to Hashem, but hidden also that love which is in a level of subjugation. He doesn't have a ratzin, a love, just subjugate. He doesn't want anything for himself at all. And what does he want? His entire will is that this should be a revelation of godliness in the world, not their Ava, but to be a revelation. So that the intention that Hashem wants to have a dwelling place below, that should be fulfilled. That's all that He wants. And that's included in part of the Ava that we got naturally from the others. So while we're saying that this is bittul b'mitzias, but it's known the Ava hi Ava v'harotzin the hodam ha'oyev. Love is the love and the will of the person that loved. So even if he doesn't want it to fulfill himself, to reach, be close for himself, but he wants it to bring down lamata sheyushim rotzin elyon, that the supreme will should be fulfilled. Etzem inyan ha'ava v'rotzin mitzi is just the idea, the concept of love. Wanting is an entity. Love is, by definition, the person loves, the person wants. So it has a entity to it. But v'amitas inyan habitulhu v'havoida the Kabbalah. The true idea of subjugation is in the service of accepting the yoke. The yoke. Shehu k'moi eved she'ein lo shum ritzonis. That he becomes like a slave. He has no desires, he has no wants. Not that he wants anything, he doesn't want anything. He just does what needs to be done. He accepts the yoke. Anything he does is because of the yoke of the master, which is placed upon it. That's why he has to fulfill the wishes of the master. So the Rebbe wants to now add, first we said the Ava we have from Yerusha, from the forefathers. Then he says more than just a regular Ava Mitzias. It's the Ava not to fulfill for yourself, but Yushlam Rotzen Halyan. And now we're saying even more that this includes that bittul, the Mitzias, that you don't even have it's the oila odin, that it's just you have to do what the master wants. The key when shebitl hamerkov, since the subjugation of the chariot to the rider, it doesn't come at all because of the wishes of the Merkava, of the chariot, that it wants to be subjugated to the rider and our Merkava. It's from the rider. So therefore, when we're talking about the inheritance from the Aves or the Merkava, the Kabbalah's oil, that also includes the bittul of Kabbalah's oil. So this is the third level of not even having any rotzin, not even ava, not rotzin, but just Kabbalah sel. You're doing it because you have to do it, because you have to fulfill the wishes of the master, nothing to do with your wishes or your love or your wants. Well, the Rebbe says in the brackets, to point out from the saying of our sages of blessed memory, that B'shor she'yigdimu Yisrael nasa l'nishma, when the Eden said first nasa before nishma chulu. So the Gemara says that the angels, Eibishter said, Megilai lebonai roz zeh, who taught my sons this secret, that the angels, they use it, the lasis, and then the shmoya, that the angels behave nasa koydum l'nishma. So the Chassidus explains this, this that they introduced, that we will do before they say we're going to understand the Kabbalah's oil atzmai in the bittul of say will do, that you're accepting the yoke, who bittul naila b'yosef, that's a much greater bittul than saying, I will do what you tell me. I'm going to first do, and then I'll hear. Because in that way is bittul lebal harotzin. This is a bittul to the, within Kabbalah's oil, saying nasa before nishma is a greater level of bittul than just accepting the nishma. That's a bittul harotzin, not to the bal harotzin. So how did this happen? Hual yidei gilui ava musuteres roz migila lebonai rozeh. That's through the level of revealing that hidden love, that secret. V'yeshloimar, we can say shahashaychus, the ava musuteres, that the shaychus of love, when we say a hidden love, mister b'tzias, lahagdomas nasel nishma, to saying bittul the Kabbalah Soilhu. So, what does it mean when we say to reveal this secret, but that hidden love, but that Ava Musuteres, that it's not a Metzias. Here, it's the Shaykhis is Ava Musuteres Ibirusha Ma'ovis Heinen Merkava, because that's the highest level that Heinen Merkava, which means a bittul of Kabbalah oil. That's the Gilui, the Ava Musuteres is the Gilui of the Merkava in the Bittul Bal Harotzen, because they come from the Ovis, which is the Merkava, which, as we were explaining, is the Bittul, the Roich, the Merkava is to the Roich, not without any considerations at all. Move on. So this you understood. The bittul shenimshach Yisrael b'matan Torah. So what was the bittul that the Yidden got the matan Torah? So this was Yerusha. So what did matan Torah do? So we have to say la'achre shekdimun asla nishma, and they reveal that deeper level, which is more than what they have from the others. Who bittul naili yoser. So we must be talking about a greater and a much deeper level of bittul, even from the level of the Merkava, because this was something bittul that they had from the Ovis, from the Merkava, and then we came Matan Torah. So it must be it's even a higher level of bittul, as the Rebbe will continue to explain.